The Shanghai Auto Show has kicked off and it's electric vehicles that are grabbing the spotlight. Following years of state investment, China is leading the way in electric mobility, with domestic brands outpacing competitors, including German behemoths like Volkswagen and BMW. Our reporter Fabian Kretschmer is there. He sent us this report.
This hall showing off electric cars is crowded with visitors. The majority of cars sold in Shanghai are now electric, and that's reflected in the city's motor show.
We're at the Auto Shanghai, where both traditional car manufacturers as well as newer brands are presenting their latest models to the public, most of them being electric cars. The EV sector in China is already by far the largest in the world, and it is transforming the whole car industry here. Chinese domestic companies are now outselling their international rivals.
For years, the Chinese government has been investing billions of dollars to help its domestic industry grow. The biggest winner so far has been Shenzhen-based BYD, a former battery producer turned car maker. With competitive pricing due to an integrated supply chain, its cars are now the first choice for Chinese customers. And their flashy design helps too.
China's car design has experienced very big progress in the past 10 years. Now Chinese brands are on par with foreign brands.
In the first quarter of 2023, BYD even overtook previous market leader Volkswagen, which held the pole position for roughly 3 decades in China. And while the Germans are still making profits selling combustion engine cars, they merely hold a 2.7% market share in the booming EV segment. To catch up, VW is now once again promising to double down on the Chinese market. It's spending €1 billion on a new innovation center there.
Now it's all about increasing the speed of the car's infotainment system and improve the user experience. You can only do that in China for China. You can no longer develop that in Europe and bring it here. It doesn't work.
The competition it faces is fierce. One of VW's main rivals is NIO. Founded less than 10 years ago, the Shanghai-based company is presenting itself as a hip startup, attracting customers with an active user community and comprehensive service. That's a concept with which NIO now wants to enter the European market too, despite the geopolitical tensions between China and the West.
As for the international political situation, this is what companies need to face. But from our point of view, we will pay attention to this matter, but we do not worry too much about it. We decided that we will focus on our own products and services, and of course we will abide by every country's policies.
But for all its successes, NIO, like most Chinese EV makers, has yet to achieve profitability.
Now, China's success in electric mobility does, of course, have a lot to do with the availability of state subsidies. Over in the United States, President Joe Biden is also keen to promote greener mobility. His $430 billion Inflation Reduction Act includes generous subsidies for companies that produce electric vehicles and batteries on US soil. Here's our Washington correspondent Carolina Chinoy describing how much of a lure the policy is proving for international companies.
This is why more and more car producers are considering shifting their production and/or their assembly procedure to the United States. Like, for example, Kia from South Korea or Stellantis from the Netherlands. But also Audi with Volkswagen might consider relocation from their production plants to the United States to benefit from IRA policies.
So foreign companies are certainly showing big interest in those subsidies. But how easy is it to access them? Well, first of all, they have to fulfill 2 big criteria. The final assembly of cars must take place in North America, and at least 50% of the battery components must be made there too. Now, when it comes to German car makers, BMW, Mercedes and Volkswagen all already have production sites in the US. But BMW's batteries don't meet the requirement, and Mercedes's cars are too expensive to be eligible for tax credits. Volkswagen's electric SUV, the ID.4, which is manufactured in Chattanooga, it does qualify. Now let's talk more about the state of the race towards electric mobility with auto industry analyst Peter Findel. Peter, lovely to have you. There you are.
Hey, thank you very much for having me.
Peter, I've heard the argument being made that the likes of Volkswagen, BMW and Mercedes are resting on their laurels a little bit because they're still making a whole lot of money out of the combustion engine. Is there substance to that criticism?
Right. Generally speaking of the automotive industry, they were hugely successful over the past 100 years with the internal combustion engine, right? And this success now turns a little bit into a curse because you tend to continue to do the stuff you are great. And now, as the internal combustion engine has ruled the world for a century, and now something newer, something better, way more efficient is coming up. And also we should not, and the auto industry has knows this and has understood this, but we also should see the challenges the traditional auto industry has in going all electric. Because it requires a lot of investment, and unlike new startups, right, where who were granted a grace period, right, to be profitable, the traditional auto industry they need to continue to deliver great profits and results, and for them it is a little bit like fixing a car while it is speeding on the highway.
That's an excellent analogy. And Peter, another big issue is, of course, the access to raw materials. And in this area, Chinese car makers really have the advantage, don't they?
I think it deserves a little bit of a balanced view on that. If you look onto electric motors, for example, you have heard about rare earth, right, where China has a dominant position in the world market. That's just one part of the story, but you can navigate around them by choosing specific construction methods for the electric motor. If we look at battery, then one can tend, well, this is a Chinese play because the largest suppliers are Chinese. But if you look at the value chain for batteries, the picture is a little bit differentiating because the raw materials, right, they are coming from countries like Australia, Canada, Chile, and so on, right? But what China has is a large part of the refinery of the production chain, and this is per se a position what other countries, America, US, or other continents need to manage and need to put on their plan how to deal with this situation.
All right, Peter Fintel, thank you very much.